Hey there, Outlaw. Go ahead and have a seat, and we'll tell you today's story. My past is catching up to me, and I couldn't be more horrified. Written by Facemelter, narrated by Gamma Akutabi, Somber Puppet, Matt Kyle, VA. Today marks the 16th-year anniversary of my father's death. No, don't bother. He was a horrible man. But I'll never forget that day. Ever. Got a new phone today, so none of my family has called or texted me since I got a new number. That's fine. I don't like that wait anyway. You're probably asking yourself, why does this guy hate his family so much? Well, when I was a boy, 13 years old, my family was involved in a church group that seemed more like a cult than anything. I left the name of the group out because I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to be talking about it in the first place. The community wasn't a secluded piece of land void of any type of civilization. There were 6 houses for families and a few other buildings for Bible study, etc. It was just us and our ways. After a while, I started noticing things. Strange, disturbing things. I met a friend there, and she was absolutely gorgeous. Her name was Andrea, and we had a bit of a puppy love thing going on. We loved books. We loved to read. We would sneak out to the edge of the woods, bring a lantern and just read books. After an hour, we would talk about what is happening in the books we were reading and really explore our imaginative sides together. It was great. But I can't keep quiet anymore. Once, I got told to come to a Bible study early, and I was excited because Andrea was there in the mornings. I was usually the class after. As soon as I walked in the room, Andrea was nowhere to be found. I went through the class with a sinking feeling in my chest. She was always in class. Always here. Where did she go? After class, I knocked on her family's door, and her mother answered.
Hey, Matthew. How are you?
She said with bags under her eyes. I'm okay. Miss Williams? Where's Andrea? I asked. She looked at the ground for a moment and smiled.
Oh, she's been sent to a better place. She was always so faithful to our Lord, and the spoken word of God was heard by Father McCober. The ceremony was held here, but she's gone. Don't worry, my child. You'll see her again soon.
I didn't pry anymore. I never heard of these ceremonies, but I have my suspicions. There are times in life where you find yourself unsure of what comes next. That's who I was when I was with this group. God kid, if you will. I believe in God and have my faith, but I always question it. They welcome me with open arms, don't get me wrong, but still, I always wonder what came next. It got to a point where I kept getting dirty looks from the members, even my parents. One night I was sleeping in my room and was awoken to my parents, Andrea's parents, and her pastor, bounding my arms and legs to my bed, and all in unison were uttering some strange chanting. They tried to perform an exorcism on me. It was actually brutal. The pastor had a whip and a small bottle of liquid. The pastor had a scar under his left eye and bright, piercing blue eyes. He was wearing a black robe, and underneath was a typical outfit a pastor would have. Black and downright creepy. The whip had one of those sex toys look to it, and he struck me over and over and over. The small bottle was filled with a clear liquid that wasn't holy water. It was most likely hydrochloric acid to give in the effect that I was being burned by holy water. I still have marks and bruises to this day. He didn't use it too much, but still, it burned worse than anything I've known. At the time, you couldn't possibly understand what I felt in that moment. It felt like absolute hell. It's funny. You'd think a holy ground wouldn't make you feel that way. My mother finally had enough of me crying and screaming in absolute agony. She untied the straps and tried to embrace me. I shoved her away and ran. I was still in my pajamas, but my adrenaline was off the charts. I ran all the way to the woods where I would read with Andrea, and I kept running. Finally, I tripped over something. It was hard, and it made my bare foot bleed. I looked to the source, and it was broken pieces of cement. That's when it all hit me like a freight train. Turning my head more and squinting my eyes in the dark, I was surrounded by headstones. The names on the headstones were some of the children that were here before and with me. I got up in a panic and tried to compose myself. Then I saw them. 2 headstones side by side. Andrea Williams and mine. I looked behind me towards the community because I heard something. I could see bright orange lights moving to my position. It was them, coming for me, to put me in a grave. I grabbed a piece of cement as a weapon and hid behind a tree. I waited unsure of where to go and what to do. Just gripped up pieces of headstones like it was the only thing in my life. In all honesty, it was. A single orange glow began approaching me, and I kept one eye around the tree to see my father in the makeshift graveyard calling for me.
Matthew! Get out here right now! I know you're out there!
Heart palpitating at this point, I gripped a piece of cement until blood was drawn.
Son, you're tainted. You cannot be here anymore. We're going to send you to paradise to have a talk with your maker. Only then will you be cleansed of your filth!
I clenched my teeth. He was right there. Literally within 10 feet. The glow of the fire was illuminating everything around me, and it was only a matter of time before he found me and had me killed. This is where everything began to make sense, though. I knew what I had to do. I waited just a moment longer, and right as my father made it right by the tree I was hiding behind, his face was right there, and I slammed a piece of cement into his face. Before the flame was dropped from his grip, he screamed and blood was everywhere. He was writhing on the floor, and eventually he rolled into the fire accidentally. I watched my father burn alive until there was nothing but a charred corpse. The fire began spreading, and I ran into the woods and away from the growing flames. I had no more time to stand there and take in what I had just done. Eventually, I made it up some hills. It wasn't easy, but I ended up towards the road that meets the edge of the other side of the woods. Glancing behind me, I took one look back and found smoke rising in the distance. There was an opening in the trees, and I looked down at the community. All I could see was fire, and I had a pretty clear view of the entire area. The fire was an intense show of power, and right above it was something insane. I know it's going to sound crazy, but I saw a silhouette of a skull with two great horns in the smoke above the fire, purging everything in sight. I ran more and more until my legs gave out and was just laying on the side of the road like roadkill. Eventually, I blacked out. I woke up in a hospital and was interrogated by police. Despite my injuries and burns linking to the hydrochloric acid traces in my wounds, they believe every word I said. And the reason why is because they've been looking for our pastor. They also found the remains of that graveyard. Those poor kids. Apparently, Father Macumber went by a different identity. I told them the name I knew him by, but they had no records of that identity. They claim he was worshipping something straight out from a black magic book, and they claim it was satanic. But I knew better. I knew Satanism isn't really used for harming others. Sure, I heard of sacrifices, but with just about every religion there's always something stated that sacrifices have to be made. I asked them if they found him there or if he was dead from the fire. They say they didn't recover a body. The fire burned everything. My mom tried visiting me, but I told her to fuck off and that I never wanted to see her again. She cried. But I have no sympathy for someone who willingly will sacrifice their son to a quote-unquote God. She respected my wishes and left. I have visitors. Some friends from school and an ex-girlfriend came to visit as well. An old middle school friend of mine and his family said they would adopt me and I could start a new life. I wanted nothing to do with my family. None of them. I'm extremely hopeful for my situation now. As I said, it's been 16 years. It's behind me now. But something happened recently that made me write this. Something terrible. I was walking home from hanging out at a friend's house, and it was about 7:30 p.m., so the sun was about to set. I was listening to music in my headphones when my phone began malfunctioning. The music stopped, and all I heard was crickets and cars in the far distance. I looked at my phone, and there was something off about it. It looked like a video was trying to play, but the pixels weren't forming anything clearly. After a moment, I could see a hand. Then the hand clenched into a fist and pointed a finger to me, then slowly shifted to my right, as if the hand was pointing behind me. I kept staring at this strange image, and then my phone got extremely hot, and I could see something form. It was a person with long, beautiful blonde hair. The face came into view, and I gasped, almost dropping my phone. It was her, Andrea, telling me something from the other side. I looked behind me, and there he was. Blue eyes, scar under the eye. Father Macumber. He looked exactly like he did that day he tried to have me kill. Exactly the same. In his black robes, holding an old tome and a holy water bottle in the other hand. He was smiling, ear to ear. I ran home, faster than I did in those woods, and locked myself in my room. I haven't slept in days. I'm so scared. What did I do? The morning I decided to write this, I had an unknown number call. I answered, and it was Andrea. Her static and hoarse voice repeated the words over and over. Run. And that's today's story outlaw. Hope that you like it. Make sure to leave a comment and a like. And check out the links for both Summer Puppet and my Kyle VA. And like always, I see y'all on the wasteland.